And thanks as always for watching the Yearbooking Report. I'm Scott Giese, and once again we have a great compilation of ideas and interviews from Season 3 of the report, featuring terrific information from top experts, yearbook advisors, and students from across America. Yearbooking was never more challenged than it was last year, but so many folks came through with great ideas and inspiration. You're going to be doing some note-taking here. If you don't have your pad and pen, you might want to hit the pause button right here and go grab it, because you're going to be noting throughout this entire presentation. As we like to say, it's time for a fill-up, and we really mean it. So, here we go. Well, perhaps you've already been Zooming or doing other online video activities. And let's face it, by fall, a lot of folks might be doing this everywhere. How is a yearbook advisor supposed to lead a yearbook staff when you're not all together? Recently, we talked to a veteran advisor who did this all of last year and over 2,000 miles away from her staff. Grab a pen and pad for some great ideas.
Hello, my name is Lynn Payne. I am the Yearbook Advisor for the Rock Academy in San Diego, California, and I advise from Kentucky. I always start each year with what I call a SWOT analysis. This is something, my husband's big corporate guy, and this is something that they always do with their executive planning. You look at the strengths, you look at the weaknesses, you look at the opportunities, and then you look at the threats. And so I always tell my students, threats are things that we cannot control. So we take our weaknesses, we turn them into opportunities, and the things that we can't change, we just put, I call it tabled. And I've always had my teams, we get together in the summer. So instead of us meeting up at Starbucks and doing some big planning or having a pizza party at my house and going swimming, we ended up just meeting on Zoom every Sunday night. And so after I did my SWOT analysis, came up with what I needed to, we did a SWOT analysis as a team. So first with my editorial staff and then with the whole group. And we just continued to add and build that list, really build out our strengths and opportunities. That's what I really try to focus on, is the S and the T, because I want to keep it positive. I want to keep them excited about the school year. So every day we have a post of the day, and somebody's responsible for posting on Instagram. And we have a schedule. So if it was Kennedy's turn, she would put her photo up, she would put her caption, and then 2 people would have to approve it on the group chat. And that way we would know that there was a record, that it was approved. We also, like I said, we had a weekly staff meeting. So the first time we met, whether it was Monday or Tuesday, that 90-minute class, for the most part, was us brainstorming the week ahead and getting ahead of things. Everybody has a 15-second checkup. And so we would go around and everybody gives. I would put the bullet points, what they're supposed to address, and they would have 15 seconds to address all of those things. They know that it was coming so they could prepare themselves, and it gets better as the year goes on. So we have a lot of communication. And then on the other days when we're working, they're working with their screen on. I'm on their screen, hello. I can see them at any time. I can be like, hey, Scott, share with me what you're working on. And then you and I could talk through some stuff, and I'd be like, okay, and I'd unshare with you, and then I would go to Kennedy. And I talk to the parents. We have parent meetings. Every time before a big deadline, I send an email out to the parents. Hey, here's what your daughter's working on. Here's what your son's working on, and so they know what's going on. We got tripped up by spring sports not happening, and we had that pile of evergreen stories on the back end. So we took a lot of stuff that we had done early on in the year, and we're able to plug it in and have extra trend spread. And I think we have an amazing opportunity to tell different stories. What are some family traditions that we've never covered in the book before? Our school is 20% international, and we're going to lose that diversity this year. I'm going to spend a lot of time at the beginning of the year developing interview skills with my students. Our team is significantly bigger. There's actually 2 periods of yearbook this year for the first time ever. So that's amazing at our school. And so the skill set I'm going to focus on is going to be way different.
Well, again, this is definitely the year to tell stories in the yearbook about people and topics, not just the usual groups and events. It's easy to do, and this year, it's really important. Recently, we talked to one of our terrific Jostens CAMs who shared some terrific insights for any yearbook staff.
Hi, my name is Jeff Moffitt. I'm a creative accounts manager for Jostens. I'm based in Dallas, Texas. What's going to make this year so cool and unique is the stories that are going to be told are like nothing ever before, and this is a year like no other before. So the yearbook's going to be different, and not only do we want to accept that, let's embrace that. Let's make it different. Let's do those things. I think the readers are really going to love some of the innovation that I'm seeing kids come up with. A lot of us that are yearbooking and yearbookers have been able every year to know what the stories that we're going to tell. Okay, we know we're going to have homecoming. We know there's going to be a basketball game. We know this certain dance. So we can already predict what that story is going to be like. We kind of know what those photos are because we've done it sort of the same way year after year with different people. And I'm not discrediting that because I've done it. The yearbook, they're excited even if it's a picture that was similar to one from 10 years, but the faces are changed. But we don't have those events now. And so that makes us find other ways to tell that story. So this is one of the hard things that I think we're like, oh, what is this going to look like? Because we don't have an answer. We know what a basketball spread's going to look like. So what is this sort of unknown virtual spread going to look like? And that's where I think the creativity really has to come through. Even just sitting here, I can see out my window and I see kids riding their bikes a couple of times a day. I see people walking their dogs, and I think some of those could be interesting stories. I think you can, find out even as much as like, what kind of dog do you have? Why did you get it? People can identify that. If I asked everyone watching this right now to raise your hand if you have a pet, at least 50%, but closer to 80% of people could say they did, or they've had one in their life. So if we ever told that story in the yearbook, here's an opportunity to do that. Something else is let kids tell their own stories for the first time. Even though traditional events and activities aren't happening, people are still doing things. They're still playing sports and doing their hobbies and doing art and dance. They're just doing it in a different way. So yearbooks, we need to cover that in a different way. And it is harder because the event that was pre-packaged and delivered to us, that's gone. The Amazon delivery yearbook is no more. So now we have to figure out how do we make it happen. One of the things that I used to do when I was younger was look at my mom's yearbooks from the 50s and 60s, and I don't know who that advisor was. I don't even know who the yearbook staff was, but they've captured this moment in time that I was fascinated with. When I come across an old yearbook from 1910 or 1920s, it just pulls me into this moment of time, and that's what your students are doing, and you're guiding them through that. And that's pretty powerful because there's no other class that does something like that. There's no other club that does something like that. So no matter what platform you're in, you're the only ones that are doing something that's going to be around for a lifetime. So that's cool.
Well, we've all heard the old saying, you can tell a book by its cover. Well, at Jostens, we have the best cover artists around, and they have been really busy, especially this year. But what's it like to be an artist? Recently, we talked to one of our talented Jostens artists to get the inside information.
Hi everybody, my name is Dylan Rush. I am a cover artist at Jostens Yearbook Company, and I'm working out of Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. Like I said, just kind of growing up, maybe around like 7 or 8, I started drawing. Just like I said, to like kind of follow my big brother. But then I had small art classes in school, but I didn't have art in high school. So kind of applying to colleges was a little concerning. They wanted like portfolios and everything. I didn't even have that, so I put something together quickly. But yeah, I don't know. It wasn't until college when I just started really getting graphic design and illustration and stuff like that. But I was always doing artsy things, I guess, growing up. I personally think it is just a skill. I don't think it's a talent. I know a lot of people would disagree with me, but my opinion is that I think back to when, like my first drawings, and they were terrible, and I just, I wanted to keep going, so just kind of practicing. I feel like as long as you just kind of, I truly believe anybody can be an artist, whether or not it's drawing something realistic, which takes skill, or, I find, I don't know, it's like the word's beauty, or I appreciate art that's even like crude drawings now, and even like kind of drawings that seem like elementary. It's just like, I think ultimately, I think it's a skill that can be developed. Well, I'm surprised that I haven't had too many repeating themes. A lot of it, I thought it was going to be all about, all about the mask and all about social distance. And there were a few covers with that where I had to draw either a mask on the mascot or make some kind of reference to like the social distancing. A lot of the other covers are kind of just more optimistic, and like it says like a brighter future or like looking ahead. Well, first, I think typography is a big deal. Making sure that you're not having too many like conflicting fonts. I like more simple designs, so I would say keep it simple, because usually inside of yearbooks are just crazy and there's a lot of pictures and stuff going on. So having a nice, clean cover is always good. You want to talk about maybe having the school name on the front or just keeping that to the spine of the book. I would recommend having the year on the front, just because I think it's kind of fun when you look at it and like this is the what year it is instead of having to look on the spine. But I think that just determines that it's a yearbook. I definitely do recommend going to school, as much as somebody wants to or not. It just changes their whole perspective, and you just learn so much more about art. But that's also coming from me, who didn't have the art class in high school. So, especially for those that are like me, went to like a kind of smaller school, definitely try to go to college, even if it's just a community college. But just to kind of get another professional opinion that can help you and polish your skills. But ultimately, I just know that I really valued my education just because I learned so much I never even would have thought of, like typography, for example, and like how important that is. And
now let's talk a little bit more about page designing, and this might be the toughest part of making a yearbook. Very few students have any experience with design, so how can we expect them to make really good pages? Through basic education and lots of good ideas. Recently, we talked with one of our terrific Jostens creative accounts managers on how to get there.
Hi, I'm Tina Cleveland. I'm a Jostens creative account manager based in Parker, Colorado. Okay, well, number one, there needs to be dominance, something on the spread, and typically that's either, one really nice large photo with a caption, or nowadays with module design, it's a dominant module. And that module might be, you might have just the killer photo that can stand alone and be that module, or maybe it's a collection of photos, but one of those photos needs to be larger. So something pulls me in, something has got to draw me into that spread and make me want to stay on it. With, I just worked with a couple of schools in the last couple of days, and, they've got some spreads that got some great modules, but all 4 modules were the same exact size. So there's nothing that pulls me in. So basically what we did, we went through, we decided which one of these needs to be larger than the others. And that number one, dominance is huge. The second thing, and I'm seeing a lot of this is probably one of my favorite design strategies, is contrast. So contrast in size, contrast in color, contrast in the weight of a font. Like Foundation Sans is one of my favorite font families. It has like 36 or 37 family members. So there's very thick versions of it. There's very thin versions of it. So just using, taking a photo, taking a headline package and creating it using different weights is going to really add that contrast. If you're looking at a module and it's got maybe 5 different photos, unless there's a very specific reason that they would be the same size, you want them to be different sizes and shapes, meaning some vertical, some horizontal, some square. And so that's a really great one. I think probably my third one that really can make a spread look very professional, and it also is just a great design thing, is spacing. So especially once, if you're using modular design, which is the trend in design, you are going to need to have space. And what that space does is it separates It defines the modules. So if I know they're spaced out, this module is one module, it's one topic. Now I've got a little bit of a space. We call that an open rail. And now we're going into another module, and then we've got space here. Sometimes when I share that, an editor will be like, oh my gosh, but we have, we've got coverage. It really doesn't take away from the coverage. You may have the photos a little bit smaller, but it's not going to be that big of a difference, but it's going to make it look really professional. Coverage is huge. Coverage should be our most important thing, no matter whether it's pandemic or not. And if we can get the concept going, we've got some templates, then we can really work on getting those photos and quotes and stories. Learn the basics. Learn the basic guidelines, the steps for creating a spread. As an advisor, become comfortable with that. You don't have to be the best designer in the world, but understand those guidelines and then make sure that you teach everyone on staff those guidelines. Because even if specific kids are the designers or they're the ones who choose the paid servers, when kids come in and have different photos and different things that they want to add to the spread, they're going to make changes. And you want them to make those changes using those guidelines.
Now, if your staff is really struggling right now, again, don't feel badly. This year, you're the norm. What are some ideas to consider to help make a great yearbook this year? Recently, we talked with an award-winning yearbook legend who shared some terrific advice for any yearbook staff.
Hello, this is Margaret Soros, and I'm a Jostens ambassador based out of Sherwood, Arkansas. Well, the first thing I would suggest is to make a list. I'm a very much a list person, so I don't want any advisors to gauge where they are right now against where they were last year. That is just extremely stressful. So let's forget there's never ever been a yearbook and this is the first year and we're doing this way. So I would make a list of this week or every day, what can you do to move this yearbook forward? And it's, again, those baby steps. I would reach out to your rep and say, hey, here's where we are. Tell me what to do. Whatever you need to do, don't ever think of it as a step backward. It is a step toward making a yearbook that no one has ever done before. And so whatever you can do is going to be great, because there's nobody at your school making a book. You're the one doing it. Just think how important that yearbook is for those seniors in 2021. You need to make it happen and understand how your student body relies on you to be a constant. Well, first I would look at how many pages, or maybe you haven't submitted any pages at all. And I would sit down and figure out, what do you have content for? Hopefully you have been taking photos. And a lot of advisors say, it's just photos with mask on. Those are important photos because those document this year. Don't worry that you've got mask on. When I was with this advisor last week, they had this kind of a showstopper spread, and it was great. And all the kids had the mask on because they put them side by side. They had to have masks on because we're mandated to wear a mask here in Arkansas. And I said, don't make excuses for that. That is great. That photo shows who we are as a school in 2021. I mean, there'll be other photos where kids will have their mask off because they're in sports or in different ways, but this is who we are. So start making a list of, what can I accomplish this week and feel positive about? Maybe it's one spread. Maybe it is getting your ads all done and submitted. One small step each week. You may cry all the way home in the car from school, of which I have done many times, but I never put that face on in front of the kids. In front of the kids, I was, yes, we can do this, no matter what obstacles we were given. And a lot of times we had some really tough obstacles that we had to overcome, but we did it. It happened. And it's a matter of positivity, because kids are amazing when they know someone believes in them. You've got to find some fun somewhere. If you are all remote, you've got to find some fun activities. And I've seen a lot of advisors starting the day off with something fun, an icebreaker, and you've got to inject some fun there, some humor. Maybe you're showing them a YouTube video of inspiration or a can-do attitude. Whatever you need to do. This is really a tough year because some kids are just not engaging at all. But find the kids that are engaging and go with them. If they can get engaged with you, maybe they can get some other kids engaged with you.
Okay, let's get a little geeky here. We at Jostens have always prided ourselves for being the innovators in the yearbooking world. But how do all of those great tools and services we use come about? Recently, we caught up with the man who knows, and he filled us in on how it all happens.
Hi everybody, I'm John Dalke. I'm Yearbook Product Director at Jostens, based in Minneapolis, Minnesota. Yeah, I mean, first off, I have to say I do have an awesome team helping to support all of this. We do all of our development in-house, which a lot of companies can't say that. And so we have a team that really cares about the customer and doing right by the customer. And so they've been really great at, kind of taking this situation and pivoting. Change is the one constant that we have going for us right now. And so, but luckily they're so in tune with the customer that it makes it easier for us to kind of pivot to their needs, which we've had to do a lot of that this year. Yeah, that definitely wasn't something just hanging out. That wasn't even a thought in our minds before COVID hit. That really came out of us just understanding that signing tradition is very important to students, and we wanted to maintain that tradition in some way, and came up with an awesome solution to be able to provide a similar experience to traditional yearbook signing, but done in a virtual environment. Yeah, there's millions of lines of code in our Just Layout Pro itself, so that's obviously a significant amount of work to put all of that together. Replicating that is very complex, and that's why it's taken us several years to do that. But the team's been great at prioritizing those features and really looking at what's worked well for our customers in Flash and making sure that we keep those features. So we're not changing things that's working well for customers and features that they love. But we also looked at what wasn't working well and adapting that and improving upon it to improve that experience. Chromebooks have exploded over the last several years. And so I think Google has 60% of the education market in terms of mobile devices. So we're definitely working on smaller screens than we ever have been. I'm on a 13-inch MacBook right now, and so it's not like we're working with large desktop monitors anymore. We're working on smaller 11-inch, 13-inch screens, even when we are on a desktop. That kind of is the new desktop. So we're adapting to smaller screen sizes for sure. Yearbook Plus is an extension to the yearbook that allows students to really kind of personalize how they get represented in the book. So it's really an extension of the physical book, where you can scan a picture in the book, whether it be your portrait or an image in the book, and it will pull up additional content on your phone. So a student can upload their portrait. They can also add up to 10 photos of them and their friends. That anybody who has the yearbook can scan that portrait and then see the photos that they've linked to their portrait. Yeah, so I can't really speak to anything new that we're working on that we haven't released yet. But I think what you can expect to see from us to be rolled out is just more functionality along the lines of Layout Pro that's more mobile friendly, a streamlined experience that's simple and intuitive.
Now, regular viewers may remember our episode way back in August when the school year was just beginning. Long 7 months, right? Back then we talked with advisor Lynn Payne from Kentucky, who had spent the entire prior year leading her yearbook staff remotely. Her staff was in Southern California, and she started doing this before the virus showed up. She's an expert, and she shared lots of great ideas back in August. But now it's 7 months later. We're getting toward the end of this school year. What are some things maybe that Erica has learned from this entire year of remote learning and more?
It's not ideal, but you make it work, because ultimately I want my students to have, I want them to have a yearbook. We need to celebrate their perseverance throughout the year. We need to celebrate all the amazing work that our colleagues have done, and show them that even though things weren't as expected, like that's what you do, as an adult, as somebody who contributes to society, you just keep going, and you do your best. As an educator, you always got to be teaching, if it's one of the first lessons we do is how do you set up your Zoom space so you have appropriate lighting, you're framed in appropriately. What does body language look like online versus in a classroom? I had to set boundaries right away, like we're not doing class in bed. You need to have a space. And those kind of life skills translate into interviewing for college. Some kids have had job interviews online. Other teachers have appreciated, a different type of engagement from yearbook students, and they can tell the difference. So you just got to be teaching, and that's what we do as educators. I know my friend at the school down the street, she's worked with the local press because they can't go to games, but the newspaper has actually gone in to cover the high school sports, and so they've given them photos. So everybody's just working hard and trying to work together. And I think that's been one of the amazing things that's come out of this experience is we've learned to use our resources a little bit more. And I think everybody's hurting in a way, and everybody wants to help in a way. So it's been a beautiful thing to make yearbooks more communal or community oriented. I hope we're all changed for the future. That's my big hope, because I don't want to go through anything in life, and I hope my children, don't go anything in life where they don't face adversity and come out better for it. I would like to think it's made us all better journalists. So instead of always trying to snap that picture of the football team running through the banner, like we have worked really hard to get new stories and not cover the same thing over and over again, because a lot of us had to fill pages when nothing was happening. We still had to put content on pages. So I hope at the bare minimum, we all come out as better journalists. I hope that we all have been able to figure out how to get those kids, who are on the fringe. And I know a lot of my teacher friends have struggled to get those kids just to show up to class. So just really trying to make every person matter within all of those stories. I hope also we come out, like I said, just better connected to our community relationships. I talk to schools all the time where we're just not doing a book this year. And that breaks my heart. And I know it's hard, but we do hard things. High schoolers shouldn't have more than 2 hours of screen time. I mean, they've been saying that for years. And then for the last year, we've put our kids on a screen, defying everything that professionals are telling us, and we're wondering why, on average, American students have dropped 30% in their skills. You see that across the board. And it's hard. And like I said, that's why it's so important that we get these books out to celebrate the perseverance. Let's celebrate our kids not quitting. Let's celebrate our teachers on not quitting.
Well, it's never too early to start your preparation for next year's effort, so why not right now? Think about it. Why ask rookie students in the fall to do this when they're just learning things, when right now you have veteran yearbook staffers that can help set the table for next year's group? But what to do? Recently, we talked with one of the top high school advisors in the nation and asked her what she and her group will be doing to prepare for next year.
Hi, I'm Ava Bohatsu, and I'm the yearbook advisor at Grand Blanc High School in Grand Blanc, Michigan. I think a good theme takes a lot of time. It's like, you get a great idea, and if you jump on it right away, it oftentimes fizzles out. So this idea of pulling together theme possibilities and sitting with them, and, we say that a lot in yoga, you're supposed to sit with it, sit with your ideas, sit with your stress, like really get to know it inside and out. And then, once you start to really internalize a good theme, then you can open up your eyes and look around you and say, well, what does this theme look like? And you find graphic inspiration everywhere once you really own it. In my opinion, a good theme starts with the verbal. So most schools I know will start with a visual. They'll see something and they'll say, I really like those colors, I really like those fonts, I like this symbol or this image or this graphic concept. That's going to be the theme. But the problem is that a really good theme is going to have this flexible verbal concept that you can take to govern your interviews, the questions, the types of stories that you write. The theme is really, a lot of times, except for COVID, right? The theme is the thing that's going to make your book different year to year. So starting with the verbal concept, and I usually break my kids into groups and let them kind of, in secret, they pitch their own verbals, and then they kind of build a concept together, and then we come together and then they can pitch it in front of the group and we can vote on it. Which, a lot of people get emotionally attached to their work, so this can be like a very tricky thing to do. But just remembering to teach everybody to think about, like, how flexible is this theme going to be? Can you transfer it? Can it be more than just a symbol or an image on the cover? Right? A theme is what the book feels like. It's less about what it looks like and more about what it feels like. I love the idea of yearbook kids having to pitch their ideas. I mean, even just in storytelling, I think every kid should have to pitch the reason why they want to cover this person or this particular event, the angle they want. So they're already a little practiced in doing that. But the vision boards are so helpful because as soon as we do vote on a theme, everybody knows that we're going to go back into those boards and pull graphic inspiration, even verbal inspiration. A lot of times we'll find that the themes are very similar that the kids are working on. Concept-wise, they're very similar, but we just want the one that has the most unusual phrasing. Or some of the phrasing can be super optimistic or kind of fall flat. So we're always looking for that right tone or the right feeling.
Well, as we wrap up our third season of the report, we're going to do something we've never done before. On many occasions, we've talked to yearbook advisors and top yearbook experts, but we've never interviewed yearbook students to get their reactions about how they dealt with the most difficult school year ever. Recently, we talked with 3 top yearbook students from Pennsylvania on how their groups handled 2021.
My name is Caroline Spar. I'm a junior at Danville Area Senior High School.
My name is Caitlin Berkey, and I'm a senior at Belmont Area High School.
My name's Jocelyn. I go to Altoona. I'm a senior. This year's theme is Picture This. So we used a lot of photography in our book, which has been hard because we haven't been in school. So we had to pretty much throw traditional spreads in the trash and start from scratch. And so a lot of our spreads are stuff that we wouldn't have room for before because a lot of our sports have been moved around or canceled or changed. So we have a lot more interaction with students this year than we would get to versus other years because it's not just athletes, it's not just music, and it's not just the arts program, it's everybody.
Our theme this year is coming together as one. We did a lot of pixelated kind of ideas. On our front cover, we have our logo for our school, and then we have a bunch of pictures that we had students send in. So it kind of looks like pixels on the cover, and it's all technology kind of based, if that makes sense, throughout the book, or at least that's what we were trying to go for. Just because everything's been remote and we were kind of expecting to have a year where we didn't really get to come into school and the whole thing was going to be online.
This year's theme is "This is who we are and everything in between." So we really carried out the and symbol throughout the book, as well as we have like a red gradient bar that goes from like light red to dark red on the front. So we put that through the book, so as you progress through the book, the red gets darker. Fortunately, we've been able to have most all of our events this year. And the events we didn't have, we replaced those pages with different modules and graphs and stuff and interviewing people to get everyone's story this year. I think just being able to make those connections with different people. I mean, in your book, you're constantly emailing people, interviewing people, and, you know, just talking to people you might not usually talk to without your book. So I think that's definitely something I'll take to college with me.
I learned a lot of like communication skills with people, and I've made a lot of connections with a lot of teachers, and like they'll recognize me, and that gets me into like a personal bond with them. So whenever I need to talk to them, it makes it a little bit more comfortable. And I've also learned like a lot of email skills and just like how to keep a conversation going because of like interview questions and stuff. And I've gotten complimented a bunch of times on like how I format my emails and stuff. And I learned all of that through Yearbook.
Our book was definitely more copy heavy, but we were also really fortunate because our administration allowed yearbook staff to come in and take pictures, and coaches were very accommodating of that. Our staff too, it's great. Like, people want to go out and cover things. We don't really have the problem of people saying, oh, I want to stay home because no one was really that concerned about taking pictures and getting COVID. We were able to cover a lot of like pulp culture things that ended up being great. Like, we had a lot of good pages just based on things that everyone in our country was experiencing. So, for example, we covered Black Lives Matter, we covered the election. That was a fun page to cover. We did the Ruth Bader Ginsburg into Amy Coney Barrett, and we just covered a lot of politics and just things that were going on in our nation, because I feel like 2020 and 2021, so many crazy things happened, and how can you not like include that in the book?
We actually did a lot of trends pages this year, which we haven't done in the past. Just because at our school right now, you have the option to be full remote with the school, or at a Bella program, which is like an online school, or in person full time. So we really had to, talk to people this year and make sure everyone was covered in the book. So I think that was something really cool we haven't done before.
We got to use a lot of new spreads this year that we never would have had room for before. So that gave us a lot of creative liberty to talk to every student. And our coverage report is like the best that it's ever been, I think. The people who have bought the book, who are in the book, like the list is smaller than I've ever seen it. And it's just because we've had opportunities to ask people questions. Like, we have a Catch My Thrift spread. So we talk to people who went thrifting. We're going to do a whole spread on senior week this year. We're going to do a spread where people get to show off their cars, which we've never had room for before.
I would say advice for next year's group is to go out and cover things that you don't normally cover. Like, kind of get out of your bubble. Don't cover the same sport the whole entire time, because you might come and cover like drama or art or some kind of science lab, and it ends up being a lot of fun, and you just learn a lot of things that you wouldn't learn if you were just staying inside your comfort zone and just covering the same thing over and over again.
I was a huge procrastinator, which it helps sometimes, but you never know when your school is going to be like, hey, you're not coming in tomorrow, and then you're supposed to get pictures that day and your spread's due Friday. Like, don't procrastinate. Just don't do it.
Honestly, I would just say have fun with it. I mean, it's honestly such a cool job. Looking back at it 3 years ago, I never would have thought, like, oh, I'll be the editor. But it really hit me last year when we were doing our 100th edition book. And I was looking through the football history, and one of the seasons were canceled because of the pandemic, the flu pandemic. And I was like, wow, that's so crazy. Like, can't even imagine that happening. But people are going to look back at the book 100 years from now again and be like, wow, the pandemic, like, you're really creating a history book. So really just have fun and enjoy it. Like, it's so cool.
Well, we hope you got some great ideas and inspiration from Season 3 of the Yearbooking Report. Now, it's up to you. Every school has the opportunity to create the best yearbook in school history. It's all about telling stories, as many as possible. So let's go out and do that this year. Thanks again for watching.